Okay, the next one we're going to do is just kind of explore quickly the lookup menu inside of ACT. And so a refresher, looking up records is a way of querying your data. It's a way of saying, of asking questions of your database. So there's a few ways to do it. I'll just kind of introduce those really quick. If I start on contacts, and I'll point out that each of these items on the left, contacts, groups, companies, opportunities, they have similar contact-centric or context-sensitive menus. So if I'm on the contact detail or the contact list, I see a contact menu and a lookup menu. If I was on groups, I'd see a lookup and a groups menu and so on. Now, 3 ways to find your stuff real quick from this. Number 1, you could use the quick lookup bar on the left, and you just need to type in any portion of somebody's name. So if you know that you have a Smith or a Bob, you just type that part of their name. Like this found Smith and Smithers, and it's real easy to find something. Or if you were looking for the Melissas, you can just type in MEL for Mel, and that searches the contact name for anything that is a hit. Okay, so that's the first one, the quick lookup bar. The second one is right-clicking. So if we wanted to find all of the people from California, I could right-click on the state field. See here, it gives me the state as the field name, and I can put CA for California and click OK, and that's going to return everybody that is from California. You'll notice you do this that anytime the return is more than one record, it takes me from the contact detail view to the contact list view, and then you can kind of scan through this and double-click or find the one that you wanted to from that list. So finally, under here, we're going to do a quick survey of the lookup menu. So first thing down here, one of the things, I won't spend any time on this, but the My Record is you. Anytime you log into the database or any user logs into the database, that user has a My Record. Right now we're logged into to ACT as Chris Huffman, so it says Chris Huffman. You don't ever want to put a customer's name here. I've had people do that and it confuses them. So we don't want to put a customer's name, but that's your information. It's from this record that ACT pulls all sender information for mailings and emails and newsletters and things like that. So right now, if I were to send a letter, it would say from Chris. If I were to put a customer's name there, it would say the customer's name. So be careful of that. Also under lookup, we can do favorites, and these are records that you can assign to as a favorite. And that's actually a newer feature here. Look up all contacts just kind of returns you to all of the contact lists. Now that's not really an option that is required, because by default, anytime you query or do a lookup, it ignores what you've already looked up and looks up against the entire database. But if you've narrowed your lookup and you want to just scroll through or look through everything, you can go to lookup all contacts, and there they all are. It keeps track of some of the last queries that you have. So under previous, you can see I did a lookup of all contacts, a lookup of My Record, a lookup of state equals to California, a lookup of Mel, Smith, and so on. So this is nice. If I've been doing other work and I wanted to go back and look up Smith again, I just click there. It does that same lookup again, and I'm back where I am. This one is really helpful. A lot of times I'm working with one contact record and somebody calls me and I want to go to their record, then I want to go back. And so there's a quick way. You can also get to that by using the down arrow near back right here. And see, I can go backwards and do my same history lookup like that I just did under lookup and previous. Okay, so the next one's down from contact down to other fields. These are just specific fields. Now I rarely use these because I find it easier just to right click and do lookup. Now you can do the same thing from the quick lookup over here, but the downside of that is, see, you've got to kind of scroll through all the field names, and I find that too cumbersome. The downside of doing just lookup and these items here is they're not all there. So usually I like to just right click and do a lookup. But if I wanted to find, let's say for example, everyone that has an email address, I could go to email address and choose contacts that contain data, and that returns for me everybody in my database that has an email address. You always want to do that before you send a mailing out. All right, continuing down. Other fields, if you choose to do it this way, this is a feature that was really useful back in ACT 6 before we had right-click and lookup. So it's kind of been rendered obsolete now, but if you wanted to, you could click here and you can scroll through any field in the database and find the one you want. I just find this a little bit clunky to do, so I like to do it the other way. Okay, down to the bottom here, we can do lookup of groups. Remember, I made a group called My Mailing List, so I could just go type in my M, and there it found for me the record or the group called My Mailing List. So you can do some group lookups from the contact view if you choose to. You can look up the group names and information about the group. Same thing if I had a company name, like if I want to find the company that starts with CH, I could scroll and there's all the companies. If I did that right, there's the companies that have a starting with CH. So if you happen to use the company view and the group view, you can quickly get to things. I usually like to just go to companies and then search from there. So here I could go search for CH, and that'll show me all the companies with CH. Or if I go to groups, I can search the group view there as well. But you know, if you like to do it that way from the contact menu, you can, or for the contact view. Same thing with opportunities. If you want to find an opportunity of a particular record manager, a particular name, I guess it's nice because if you know you have an opportunity with a particular name, you can just click there and search for it. So that's kind of nice. Opportunity or lookup by example is something that carried over from ACT 6.0. It's not as useful anymore because there's other ways to search. But if you wanted to search for everybody, for example, that had a state of New York, you just put an NY there. And if you want to also find those that are a customer, you can look that. And now I'm quickly looking for all New York and customer, and there's the folks that are in both. So that's lookup by example. Again, that was a lot more helpful in ACT 6.0, and it carried it forward, but it is not as useful because there's so many other easier ways to find things in ACT nowadays. Okay, now we get to the fun one. So annual events, I'm going to come back to in a little bit or show you more, but let's say I wanted to look up anybody with a birthday this month. I'd go to annual events, choose the field that I want. This has to be an annual event type of field, so if it's just a date field, you can't search this way. But you can search the current month and hit Find Now, and there's everybody with a birthday this month. I'll come back and spend some more time with you on another session here. Contact activity, this is helpful if you're trying to find, you know, let's say we want to find everybody we haven't talked to in a while. So we can say, show me contacts that have not changed since maybe June 1st, and you click OK, and it's going to show me those. This is good if, you know, you're responsible for calling your list and you haven't, and now I can find everybody that I've not talked to. So if you've been calling everybody, and it's going to be a much shorter list. And consequently with this, you can find everybody that you have talked to or have some contact with. And that's here under Contact Activity and more things there. A couple more things here. If I want to look for advanced queries, keyword search, look up all users. This is helpful. If I want to see who's a user of my database, I can click there and see the people that are users. Every user in ACT needs a record, and so you will find them there. And then if you're trying to sort through permissions issues, you can look for contacts by access. For example, if I wanted to find all of the records in my database that are marked private, click there, click OK. So a private record, you can see here under contact access, it's marked private. A private record can only be seen by the currently logged in person. So a lot of times if you have somebody that says they should be able to see a record and they cannot, I would look up that record and then see if, for example, if it was marked private or limited access, and that was why that person couldn't see it. Another reason that people probably couldn't see stuff is maybe it hasn't synced down. So I'm going to flip to another database real quick and show you. You can go to Lookup, Advanced, and Last Synchronized, And this shows you all the records that have synchronized in a particular range of dates. And this might take a little while based on how many records are there. But that's only helpful if you've got database synchronization turned on. And then, like I said, it may take a while based on how many records it returns. So if you just did a big mail out, there's going to be a lot of history records, and it'll take a while to do that. So I'm not going to wait for that one. Okay, so that's basically the lookup menu, or an overview of the lookup process.